welcome to the first part of point cloud parameter video. In this video, I'm going to create a point cloud parameter from a 3D object in TOUCHDESIGNER. First, we will go to top operators. I will choose a point file in. Here I choose my obj file, and after that I will add a node. I call this null position. After that I will go to composite and I will add a geometry parameter. Inside the geometry, if you double click and go in, there is a torus file. We don't need that. I will insert add the operator. After that I will add a convert, and after that I will add a node. I turn on the display and render. It's important to turn on the render especially. In our add operator, I will turn on add point. In the convert to particle per point, and in particle type render as point spirit. Now we go back. So we want to use our point file in as an instance for our geometry. If you click on instance, you can turn on instancing, and you can drag and drop your position into translate OP and translate XYZ. You can choose RGB. If you click on this star, then you can move around your geometry and you can see it from different angles. So I want to just say something that you can create point cloud from even basic mesh in TOUCHDESIGNER or any other 3D object. Here I will choose a sphere to show you how it works. After that I will add a sub2 to create a channel from my 3D model. And after that I will go to top and I will choose chop tool to create an image from it. So here in data format I will choose RGB, and I will choose filter square for my image layout. If I drop my chop tool instead of the position, here we cannot see it properly because it doesn't have a material. So I will go to material and I will choose a point spirit and I will add a node. I call the node material. I drag and drop the node on top of my geometry and I choose material. Now you can see our sphere as a point cloud in our geometry. For creating texture, we can also get a texture from our 3D model, but my model doesn't have a texture, but I just want to show you how it works. So here I choose point file select. For the red, green and blue I choose NX, NY, and it should have been NZ, which I did mistake, but here it doesn't matter that much. I will add a node and I call it color. Now I will go to my geometry and I will go to instance 2. I drag and drop my color to color operator and I do RGB. I choose RGB for RGB, which I did a mistake again. Here I'm fixing it. Okay. Okay, so if I insert an operator, top operator, HSV adjust. Now if I change the hue offset, you can see that the color of my point cloud is changing. I can just play around with the color, but I didn't do it, I just wanted to show you. So now I want to render my point cloud. I want to see it as rendered. I will go to composite. I will add a camera. And here in top I will choose render operator, and after that I will add a null. And what I do is that I'm adding the base. I will go inside my base. I will add 2 input and 2 output in my base. I will add the first input to the first output and the second one to the second one. So here outside you can see we have 2 input and 2 output. First one is for position and second one is for color. In the first input, which is position, I add a noise, and for both input I use the same parameter, the same operator. And here in my translate Z, I will add ABS time dot seconds to have to make my noise moving. And after that I'm adding add, and I connect my inputs to the second input of that. And for my second input, which is my color, I added another operator, which is threshold. With threshold you can decide which channel you want to change. For example here I changed the channel, I changed the comparator to not equal, I changed the channel to red. So I put a composite after the add in the position line, and I connect the threshold to this position, and I put the threshold on the top layer and I put it on over. And so now you can see when I change the threshold, my control here is changing. If I want to have a constant movement, I add a LFO, and I drag and drop my channel to the threshold parameter. Now I add another operator, which is a channel mix, and I create another composite. This is for my color. Here I add a level. I make it more bright to be more visible, because now this threshold is affecting my position and my color at the same time. Now if we go back and we go to our point spirit material, here if you change the attenuate point scale, which is 0, then you will turn on other parameter that you can change. You can just play around with the attenuate near distance, far distance, and other parameter that you have. So I select everything, I right click on the empty space and I click on collapse selected. It creates space with everything inside it. I call the space point cloud. I will go inside and I will go again inside another base which contains my points. Just play with the camera to zoom out a bit, not a bit actually, but and here I decided to go for a different thing, so I put a constant on my top operator, I add a transform, and I make a narrow white line. I use my LFO as reference for the translate of this line. And instead of the threshold, I use this white line that is moving up and down. And I connect it also to my color. Now I like this one much more. I want to give it a color because I don't want it to be white. Now I will go inside my geometry and I'm adding in. I'm adding also a switch. I want to switch between point spirits and geometry. Now if I go out, I am putting a box and I'm connecting my box to my geometry. Now you can see instead of each one of these points I have a box, which the box is pretty big. And here inside, if I switch between these two, it goes from box to the points. Here I change the uniform scale in my transport. But as you can see, the material is very flat, so we cannot really see that there are boxes. For that I need a foam material or any other material that is for 2D objects. I again put a switch between point spirit and foam because I want to be able to switch between them. But as you can see, everything turns black because when you're using foam or PBR, you always need light. I add a feedback, I add a composite. Now you can see that my point cloud is changing. Here, after my feedback, I add a point transform. Now you can see if I change the uniform scale, my point cloud is kind of zooming in and spreading at the same time. And here I again rotate this time, that seconds to make a constant rotation movement, but it's very slow, so I multiply it to 5. So I add another switch between the composite before the feedback and the composite after the feedback. Now I can switch between these two positions.